everybody. Thank you for joining me once again, where people continue to be not only wrong on the interwebs, but also incredibly stupid, offensive, insulting, and frankly, this particular bloke is one of the most serious sufferers of Dunning-Kruger I've come across. This is a bloke who, if you don't know him already, his name is Stephen Danielle. He runs a little YouTube channel where he has a subscriber base. Good luck to him on that. However, it seems like he has no penetration. It seems like no one's interested in watching his videos to speak of. This particular one, for example, he posted 10 months ago, and it's just drilled over 1,000 views. Probably, I think it's a combination of things. I think that it's, number one, the way this boy speaks is offensive, frankly. The intonation, the cadence, the whole way this boy presents himself is offensive, at least to me. It doesn't have to be to you. It's just my opinion. But also everything that comes out of his mouth is ignorant in the extreme. He's a boy who's presenting himself as someone who knows something about metabolism and physiology and stuff. Nope. Also, sad, really sad and really quite pathetic on his part is that he has to take shots at other YouTube creators as if he knows more than they do, which he does not. And the only way the only tool in his toolkit, if you like, for having shots at others is to lie about what they've said, to misrepresent what they've said, to strawman them and to present them as having said something they have not said. It's pathetic. It's desperate. This is a ridiculous buffoon of the highest order. I've actually had him on my channel on one occasion where I spanked him soundly around the ring in a debate-style discussion. Check it out for yourselves if you like. In the meantime, let's hear what he's got to say about calories in, calories out, because this is something that won't die. Anyway, let's hear what Stephen has to say and put him right where he's wrong, which is all over the place. What a shock. Off you go, Stephen.
For those of you that actually haven't read The Carnivore Diet, I have the book right over here. And what exactly does Shawn Baker say on page 116? Well,
why would you put Shawn Baker up as the authority on this topic? Shawn Baker was one of the first people who spoke publicly about the carnivore diet some years ago. Absolutely. Shawn is a great man. I have a great deal of respect for Shawn. Shawn has a fantastic following. That's probably why you're leaning on what he's had to say on this topic in a book he wrote several years ago. Whatever.
Under the section, calories and metabolism. Do calories matter? Yes, they do. If you burn more calories than you ingest, then you lose mass.
Okay, so I would like to correct Shawn on that. Not because of anything really other than we need to be careful, in my view, about the words that we choose to use in order to communicate concepts to our readership, our viewership, those in the carnivore community who want to understand what is going on. So the correction at this stage, and I'll flesh it out more as we speak more, the correction is this. You cannot consume or eat calories. That is impossible physiologically. It cannot be done. You cannot burn calories. Calories do not burn. So you can neither consume calories nor burn calories. Calories have no effect on your body mass nor your body composition. None. I'll get to that later. That does not mean calories don't matter, because calories don't matter does not actually mean anything. There is no meaning in that statement. It's just some words put together in a sentence. I, for one, have never, ever said calories don't matter. So strawmanning someone and suggesting they have said that is pathetic. It's desperate. It shows a lack of grasp of the nuance of the science, the physiology, the metabolism involved here, which I'll flesh out during this video quite happily. Again, it also shows how woefully stupid Stephen Danielle really is, and how woefully lacking Stephen Danielle is in knowledge on this topic. This is a boy with very, very serious ego problems who does not understand his place in the, for want of a better term, hierarchy of professionals working in this area to educate people as to the correct interpretations of the science, the physics, the physiology, the metabolic pathways, etc., involved in assisting a person who wants to in optimizing their weight or their body composition or both, and or preparing a person physiologically for physiological challenging activities such as sports, combat, firefighting, police work, etc., that kind of stuff. Okay, all things in which, by the way, I am absolutely a bona fide expert and authority. And as such, I can promise you that this boy here is just that. He's a boy in short pants without the first fucking clue of what he is talking about. As I say, I'll flesh it out throughout the video as things become worth pointing out. But in the meantime, point one is you cannot eat calories or consume calories. Neither can you burn them. They do not have an effect on weight or on body composition at all. Not 1 gram, ever. Right, I'll flesh that out as we go along, as and where it becomes appropriate to make those points. Here we go.
So not even Sean Baker disagrees with...
What do you mean, not even Sean Baker? Sean Baker is a great man. I have a lot of respect for Sean, as I said. Why would you put Sean Baker up, though, as the authority? He's an authority. He understands this, I think, probably nearly as well as those of us who really do have this absolutely nailed down. He's just chosen in his book to use words and verbiage that I imagine his thinking has been that this is the most accessible way of expressing a concept to people without worrying about, at that time, the absolute scientific correctness of it. All right?
The fact that calories in, calories out matter.
Calories in, calories out. Therein lies your problem, Stephen. You cannot gauge, measure, or accurately track either so-called calories in or so-called calories out. There is no way you or any person at home, even with any modicum of understanding of this, can possibly achieve this goal of tracking. Not even remotely close. It is not a possibility. You need very, very expensive kit in a multi-million-dollar laboratory and a team of PhDs to run that kit for you to get anywhere even close to being accurate in tracking either the so-called calories in or the so-called calories out. The error around attempting to track at home is so vast that it renders the entire exercise pointless. And as such, as a tool for weight loss, body composition, maintenance or change, moderation, whatever, modification, the only way to use so-called calories in, so-called calories out, i.e. the grossly, vastly inaccurate estimates that a person can make at home for this purpose, the only way to make that work predictably is to vastly, grossly, hugely undereat for an extended period of time, which is absolutely, utterly contraindicated, dangerous, and stupid. Ergo, calories in, calories out is not an appropriate tool for that purpose. And anyone that suggests it is misleading people and is a fool. What's next?
When people say calories in, calories out does not matter, they don't.
Who says that? Name some names. I know you've named me as a person that said that, Stephen, recently. That was a lie. I have never said calories in, calories out doesn't matter, or calories don't matter. Ever. You are completely missing the nuance. Either it's because of your incredible level of ineptness and stupidity, or it's your desperate attempt to try and get some kind of traction on YouTube by taking shots at people who are much more successful than you are without any actual substance in your criticism. And it's a ridiculous, pathetic, desperate straw man. Or both. I don't really care which. Either is a reason for people to completely ignore you, to spurn you and your ridiculous, pathetic little YouTube channel, frankly. Boy. What's next?
Don't mean it as a literal statement. What calories don't matter figuratively means is that the quality of the nutrition that you get from the foods that you consume is more important than the quantity of calories that you get from the foods that you consume.
No, it doesn't mean that, actually, at all. Wrong again, Stephen. False.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Carnivore Q&A. Stephen here with TV4 and today we're going to be talking about
Q&A? Who's asking questions?
calories in, calories out. And whenever we talk about calories, someone is going to get their titties in a twist. However, we're going to talk about it anyway. And one thing I want to make note of before we get on to the topic at hand is me personally, I'm not a fan of calorie counting for a couple of reasons. Number one, most people suck at it and they're going to overestimate how many calories.
Everybody sucks at it, Stephen. Even people with PhDs in this topic suck at it because it is not possible to do. You cannot track calories remotely accurately. I think I've covered that already.
They actually need. And then the second reason is for those people that actually are able to track properly, they're only.
Nobody can track properly, Stephen. That's the point. Nobody. And the fact that you don't understand that points directly, squarely to your incompetence, stupidity, Dunning-Kruger, and your arrogance to think yourself competent in this field. You're not.
Going to be able to do it for 2 to 3 days and then they're going to give up because it becomes very, very tedious.
All right, you know what everybody in the world is going to do? You have a crystal ball, do you, Stephen?
So for me personally, I would rather focus on incorporating healthy habits over calorie.
You don't know what that is though, Stephen.
Counting. And I actually made a video a few years ago. It was called...
Yeah, which nobody watched either, that one. Pretty much. Because nobody watches your videos to speak of, Stephen. I wonder why. Maybe it's because you're offensive and stupid. That's probably it.
How to lose weight effortlessly, one habit at a time. I'm going to include a link right up over here. But for me personally,
no, it was down there.
I would rather have you guys focus on healthy habits over
again, you don't know what that is.
Counting calories. The only times I ever really focus on calorie counting is if I have a fighter who's getting ready to make weight for a fight, or if I'm working with a physique competitor who's getting ready for a competition. Aside from those two scenarios, it is a...
And in fact, you shouldn't use it in those two circumstances either, Stephen. Because in cutting weight, you are actually going to cause that athlete's performance to be compromised on the day because you're going to have that athlete show up for that event undernourished, probably dehydrated as well. You're an idiot. You're an absolute buffoon. Anyone stupid enough to pay you money for advice, Stephen, deserves what they get. This is Darwin in action, frankly.
Strategy that I very, very rarely, if ever, employ. However, even though I rarely employ it, I am not naive enough to think that you could eat whatever the hell you want on the carnivore diet and calories don't matter. And as long as...
Who has ever said that, Stephen? Anyone of any clout or anyone who's supposed to be an expert in any way? That's a straw man. Give us a name. Who has said that? I haven't. Ever.
As all you're eating is meat, it's impossible to gain any fat. That is absolutely nonsensical. However, there are a lot of people that actually believe that you can literally eat as many calories as you want on a carnivore diet without gaining fat.
No. Number one, you cannot eat calories still. There's no way to eat a calorie. The fact that you would suggest that someone can eat a calorie suggests that you have no fucking idea what a calorie even is, Stephen. A calorie is a measurement of heat energy. Nothing else. That's what it is by definition, by measurement, when it is measured. It is photons in the electromagnetic field. They cannot be eaten or consumed or brought to rest. Ergo, they have no rest mass, not 1 single gram. No matter how many photons there are, their exact weight is 0, and their ability to therefore change the weight or the composition of the human body because of their lack of mass is none. They cannot affect your mass or your weight. We are done on that. Those are the facts. That is the unassailable physics of the situation, Stephen. So no, you cannot eat calories.
And they preach that as though it is meant as a
Who preaches that you can eat as much food as you want to eat ongoingly, and that will not affect your body composition or your weight? Who says that, Stephen? Give us a name.
literal statement, and it is completely nonsensical. And one of the reasons...
What's nonsensical, Stephen, is you putting yourself forward as an expert in a field that you do not understand. That's what's nonsensical and ridiculous in the extreme.
Why a lot of people preach this is because...
Who preaches this? A lot of people preach this. Who? Who preaches that?
They lack understanding of metabolism. When we look at
Right. It's clear who lacks understanding here, Stephen, because you've just been saying a person can eat calories and burn calories. They can't, son. You have a fundamental lack of understanding of the basic physics underpinning the situation here. And you're standing there claiming that others don't understand. It's projection. It's Dunning-Kruger. And you are the stupidest motherfucker I've dealt with in a long time. Not to mention the most offensive, just about. What's next?
Metabolism, if we were to break it down most simply, it would be the sum total of all chemical reactions that occur throughout the body. And there are 37 heptillion chemical reactions.
That's just a ridiculous number that you've pulled out of your ass. We understand there are a lot of chemical reactions that make up one's metabolism. Yes. None of them have anything whatsoever to do with calories at all.
That occur every single second, and every single one of those chemical reactions is going to affect the calories out.
No, because none of them have anything to do with calories whatsoever. Dear oh dear. Chemical reactions, Stephen, are mediated by the swapping of electrons, valence electrons, between various different molecules, thus forming different molecules without a change in the mass present, actually, by the way. You don't even understand that clearly. Gibbs free energy is exchanged between different molecules and different atoms in chemical reactions, sure. Gibbs free energy being a construct in the same way that calories are a construct. Calories are a motive force for work. In this case, the specific form of work is heat. Heat being a form of kinetic activity. Movement, vibration, rotation, and translocation of various atoms and molecules in a given body. Nothing to do with the chemical exchange of electrons between different molecules and atoms as mediated by Gibbs free energy. Buffoon.
Part of the equation. So that's another reason why I'm not a fan of calorie counting, because with all of the reactions that occur throughout the body, it is literally impossible to accurately track down to the last calorie.
Or even close, that's the point. Or anywhere, even reasonably remotely close. That's the point. So counting them or attempting to count them in or out, absolutely, utterly pointless. Will not give you an accurate gauge on what is going on in the human body and is irrelevant anyway. Because the human body does not consume heat as its form of motive force for metabolic work. And calories are heat energy, nothing else. Okay?
How many calories you're actually burning throughout the day?
You can't burn a photon. Photons don't burn. Fats, carbohydrates, amino acids, alcohol can all be oxidized by the human body. Photons cannot be oxidized. They will not react chemically in that way because oxidation is the removal of electrons. Photons don't have any electrons. You idiot. You mindless imbecile. You silly little boy.
Day. Now, a few reasons that people say counting calories is BS.
Because it is. You can't do it. It is impossible. You won't get anywhere close.
Number one, well, people like to say, I was gaining weight while counting calories on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, and losing weight without counting calories on the carnivore diet. Well,
right, well, that's a straw man. That's not a scientific argument based in the underpinning physics, which absolutely, unequivocally, and unassailably establishes the fact that calorie counting is not even possible. In or out. Still.
Well, this argument is completely useless and it doesn't mean anything, because if you were gaining weight while counting calories on...
So present a straw man and ignore the fact that you have no understanding of the underpinning physics, metabolic pathways, chemical reactions even, or what they are, and have no knowledge in this field at the first principles level that you would need to understand in order to communicate effectively, correctly to the public about it, Stephen. Carry on though, son. You're doing a great job.
On the SAD diet, remember how I said most people suck at tracking and they overestimate how much they actually need? Well, that is why you were gaining weight. You were counting...
No. The only way to gain weight is to consume more mass, Stephen, than your body excretes in some way. Mass. Mass has a weight. Photons of light do not. They cannot change your weight. Any weight or mass, plus or minus any number of zeros, leaves that mass unchanged, does it not? Yes, we are done. Idiot.
calories, but you did not track it properly, and you were actually
Nobody can track calories properly. Still.
in a surplus and not a deficit in that.
No. Weight gain and weight loss is nothing whatsoever to do with calories, which are photons of light, which have what? Rest mass, by the way, Stephen, again? Still zero. Mass is gained and lost by excreting and consuming mass. It's a mass balance activity. Idiot.
That is why you were gaining weight, and you were
No. Still.
losing weight without counting calories on the carnivore diet. Congratulations, you happen to be in a calorie deficit.
Wrong. Weight loss is mediated by the loss of weight, Stephen. Mass. Things that you can put on a scale and measure the weight of. You cannot do that with photons of light. Still. They don't weigh anything. Still. Nothing.
Without consciously trying to be in a calorie deficit while you were on the carnivore diet. But that is why you...
There is nothing more offensive than a buffoon like you presenting himself as having some knowledge when you have none. You fucking idiot. You absolute moron. You imbecile.
You lost weight. It wasn't because calories are BS. It is because you were not tracking...
Nobody said calories are BS. They're not. They are a measurement of heat energy, and they are only in existence when they are released as such. Before that, they are potential energy, which is still a construct, in exactly the same way as heat energy is a construct. You cannot measure energy. You can only measure the effects of energy on actual matter, on mass, i.e. the movement of that mass, heat energy. That, by the way, will not change the weight of any given mass. If you make something hotter by a very small amount, that will not tend to affect its weight. Will it, Stephen? For goodness sake.
Properly. The second argument that I hear a lot of, I'm losing weight eating more calories on the carnivore diet, and I was gaining weight eating less calories on the SAD diet. Again, this is
another ridiculous straw man that does not get anywhere near dealing with the underpinning physics, metabolic processes, or anything else, Stephen. There's no surprise that people that are saying things to you are even stupider than you are, though. No surprise at all.
This is a nonsensical argument, and it comes down to people not understanding exactly how nutrition physiology works.
Right, again, Stephen, with the projection there, because you don't know what a calorie is, or how chemical reactions occur, or what's involved in that. The very most basic first principles that you need to understand before you open your ridiculous, ignorant mouth on this topic. Whoops, that's embarrassing for you.
Because with regard to the thermogenic effect of food, different foods are going to burn at a different rate.
No, they're not, because they don't fucking burn in the human body. You have a metabolic pathway, Stephen. You don't have a fucking steam engine inside your body. No.
You're going to expend more energy burn.
Expend energy. That's a construct. Can't actually be measured accurately anyway.
Different foods. With regard to protein, 20 to 30% of the calories that you are going to consume.
You're not going to consume any calories at all. You're going to consume some mass in the form of protein. And by the way, most protein that you consume is used to build body structures with, Stephen. It's not oxidized at all. So your 25 to 30% estimate there is vastly, grossly, hugely incorrect. You really know nothing, absolutely nothing about this topic. No wonder nobody watches your videos.
Are going to be burned off through the thermogenic.
No, they're not going to be burned off. You can't burn calories still.
process of digesting all of that food. Whereas with carbohydrates, it is a 10 to 15% of those calories. So if you are consuming 100 calories of
You can't consume any calories. Still, you mindless cunt.
protein and 100 calories of carbohydrates, in the carbohydrate section, you are actually going to be consuming about 85 to 90 usable calories. The other 10...
And that estimate is wrong too, for a number of other reasons that you don't even remotely understand, Stephen. Because you don't have the skills, the experience, or the knowledge in this field to speak with any authority on it. Because you are an ill-educated buffoon.
to 15 are going to be burned off through the digestion process. And with
No, they're not, because you can't burn off calories still.
regard to protein, you're actually going to be consuming about 70 to 80, whereas the other 20 to 30 are going to be burned off through the
No, still.
actual digestion process. So you can consume more protein and you're going to burn more calories by
No,
consuming more protein as
no. Nothing to do with calories. At all. Not a damn thing. Still.
opposed to carbohydrates. So even though you're eating more
Remember, calories are heat energy and nothing else.
calories on a carnivore diet and you're losing weight as opposed to gaining weight while eating less, it doesn't mean that Seco is bullshit.
It is bullshit. In terms of as a tool to use to predict what's going to happen to your body composition or your weight over any given period of time, unless you swamp the error, the vast error inherent in attempting to track either calories in or out to such a degree that you vastly, grossly, hugely undereat for an extended period of time, which is a dumb idea. We are done with calories in, calories out as a tool to use. It is bullshit. We are done on that. Permanently. You clearly are not, though, Stephen, because you are an ignorant buffoon without the first clue of what you are talking about. You're also an offensive fuck and a liar.
All it means is that you are burning more. And then another
No, still.
thing worth noting with regard to this right over here is if you are metabolically unhealthy, let's say you have issues with insulin resistance, you're not able...
Another construct, Stephen, that does not actually exist. Please give me the name of a company that designs, manufactures, and markets an insulin resistance meter. As a competent clinician, Stephen, I know that the thing that we need to measure and deal with is actual physiological signals, actual artifacts that we can measure. Area under a glucose curve, area under an insulin curve under given stimuli. And we need to see which, if any of those, are pathological and deal with those, not make up another thing altogether and pathologize its existence. Insulin resistance is bad, okay? Well, no, because number one, it occurs for a reason. It occurs for a very good reason. It's indicated, actually. And no, it in and of itself is not pathological. What's pathological is the thing underpinning its stimulation. The thing that you're referring to as insulin resistance. It's nothing of the sort, actually. It's a well-known, well-understood effect of the Randall cycle. In fact, another thing that you don't understand at all clearly, Stephen. Insulin resistance. No.
able to properly control ghrelin levels. You have chronically elevated cortisol. Your estrogen to testosterone balance is off. You have problems with thyroid. All of those are going to affect how exactly it's going to affect your body when it comes to losing weight. Whereas if you're...
Sure. Possibly. But you can still lose weight by dehydrating yourself, for example. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but you can. Or you could lose weight by surgically removing part of your body, if you like. That'll work too. Idiot. What you're referring to is fat. Okay? Fat is fat, a spade is spade. Fat is not a dirty word. If you're talking about the loss of fat, that is what you should say. I mean, you can also lose or gain weight by losing or gaining muscle mass. You're an idiot. You're an absolute fucking moron. You're a waste of perfectly good oxygen.
Metabolically healthy. Let's say you go on the carnivore diet, your insulin sensitivity improves, your cortisol levels, you're stressed, you're able to bring those down, you're able to better
Another construct. I mean, insulin sensitivity is the inverse construct of insulin resistance. It doesn't exist either. Again, you would need an insulin resistance or sensitivity meter that would gauge this physiological reality if it existed as such. It doesn't. That's why there is no meter for that, Stephen.
Manage your testosterone and estrogen levels. Your ghrelin is better managed. You have better issues with regard to your thyroid. All of those are going to make it a lot easier to lose weight. So just
fat, if that's what you're looking for.
Because you're eating more calories on carnivore.
You can't eat calories, Stephen. Still, it is not possible. You cannot eat photons.
And you were gaining while eating less on the standard American diet, it doesn't mean that calories in, calories out is BS.
Yes, it does. For the reasons I've been very clear about in this video and previous videos made before this one on multiple occasions. It's really quite straightforward for anyone who has more than 3 brain cells. That's why you don't get it, Stephen, because you're as thick as pig shit and twice as offensive.
All that means is that you are possibly getting healthier, and because you are getting healthier, your body is going to be able to burn those foods a lot.
No, you still can't burn foods
better, and you're not going to be able to store onto that fat as much.
Nonsense. Your ability to store food on your body or to use food already stored on your body does not rely on having a certain health status. You're only talking about the likelihoods, perhaps. You need to communicate effectively, which I know is beyond you, Stephen, so that's no surprise.
So that's why that's a nonsensical argument. Then, this is one of my favorites. So this comes up every single time we talk about calories. I can name 3 doctors who disagree with you and say calories don't matter.
Doctors are not qualified to comment on this. It's not their field of expertise by virtue of being a doctor, another straw man.
What does that have to do with anything? I can name 3 doctors who think the earth is flat. Are we going to listen to the opinions of 3 people when we have close to 8 billion people on this planet? No.
By the same token, Stephen, why would anybody want to listen to your opinion? Oh, that's right. They don't. That's why you don't get any views on your video to speak of. Right, good.
That's a nonsensical argument.
You like the word nonsensical, don't you? Do you know any other words, Stephen? Or is that the word you've learned this week? Nonsensical. Nonsensical. Well done on the big word. You need a trophy, a participation trophy, perhaps, for saying big words.
Another thing is, with regard to I can name 3 doctors who disagree with you and say calories don't matter, the 3 doctors that always get brought up, Ken Berry.
He doesn't say that. He doesn't say calories don't matter any more than I do.
Paul Saladino.
Well, he's an idiot. Who cares what he says about anything? He's an absolute waste of space, just like you are.
Sean Baker. And
Sean Baker is the most sensible, probably, of the physicians in the space in terms of exactly the way he words things at large when he's speaking, what he says in his book, whatever. There are others who are also highly sensible, highly intelligent, and well worth listening to. Doctors Chafee and Berry are in that category. They are right up there with Sean Baker, but not because they are doctors. Their medical qualifications have absolutely nothing to do with whether what they're saying about this topic is correct or otherwise. Doctors are trained in allopathic medicine. Okay?
And with regard to Sean Baker does not believe in this. Paul Saladino.
You have no idea what Sean Baker believes.
Does not believe in it.
Who cares what? I mean, Paul Saladino believes a lot of things. He believes pouring 400 grams of carbohydrates down his stupid, ridiculous fucking neck every day of his life is indicated and a good idea, and you should do it too. Paul Saladino believes that the A1C test is able to detect damage done to his tissues by fructose. Paul Saladino believes he's competent to speak about human nutrition. Paul Saladino believes he knows how to read a scientific paper. He's wrong on all of those things, completely wrong. What's next?
And Ken Berry, I'm sure he doesn't believe in it literally.
You don't know anything about what Ken Berry believes either. Have you even ever spoken to any of these individuals directly, Stephen? I'm acquainted personally with all three of those individuals. All four, if you're counting Chafee, which you haven't mentioned that I did. They are all people I know and have spoken to. Have you?
He probably believes in it figuratively. But if we were to look at Sean Baker a couple years ago, he was trying to lean out. And when he wanted to lean out, he switched over to eating leaner cuts of meat, and then he would have fattier cuts of meat on his refeed days.
So what? What's that got to do with the price of fish in China in 1965? Or anything else?
If calories in, calories out don't matter, then why did he switch to leaner meats?
Because it's about the makeup of the food that affects the metabolic pathways, the hormonal system, the inflammasome, and all those things in such a way as to encourage the metabolism to run in a certain direction and not the other one, Stephen. Still nothing whatsoever to do with photons of light. At all. You fucking idiot.
AKA meats that contain fewer calories.
No, you fucking idiot, because meats don't contain any calories when you eat them. Meat contains potential energy, which is still a construct, and that is used by virtue of chemical reactions in the body, i.e. the exchange of electrons using Gibbs free energy and not photons. Okay? The only way you can get calories out of a piece of meat or fat is to combust that in a bomb calorimeter and measure those. And then you can't digest it because it's already been burned to vapor. All right, you fucking idiot. You absolute fucking moronic cocksplat. You mindless cunt. What is next?
If calories in, calories out don't matter, then Sean Baker should have just kept eating high.
Who said calories in, calories out don't matter? Still. Give us a name. You named me this week, having said that. I fucking didn't. You lying cunt. Give us another name. Try again. Boy.
High-fat meats, as it wouldn't have made a difference. However, he didn't. And to further illustrate the point, for those of you that...
What point? You haven't made any fucking points. Except Stephen Danielle is a fucking imbecile. Without the first clue of what he's talking about, or even a basic grasp of the first principles at play here. That's the only point you've made here, boy.
Actually haven't read The Carnivore Diet, I have the book right over here. And what exactly does Sean Baker say on page 116? Well,
we've covered this.
Under the section, calories and metabolism. Do calories matter? Yes, they do. If you burn more calories than you ingest, then you lose mass.
Yeah, we've already corrected that multiple times.
So not even Sean Baker disagrees with the fact that calories in, calories out matter.
That's not a fact. Those are just words. It's an interpretation. It's not a fact of any kind.
When people say calories in, calories out does not matter, they don't mean it as a literal statement. What calories...
Who says that? Still.
Don't matter figuratively means is that the quality of the nutrition that you get from the foods that you consume is more important than the quantity of calories that you get from the food.
You still don't get any calories from food. None at all.
That you consume. So when people
cannot consume calories.
Say calories don't matter, it is not meant...
Who says calories don't matter, Stephen? Still.
...to be taken as a literal statement. It is meant to be taken as a figurative statement. And if you are constantly in a calorie surplus...
You have no idea what anybody means when they say anything, Stephen, clearly. Literally or figuratively.
It doesn't matter what diet you are following. You could be on a vegan diet, vegetarian, paleo, keto.
It really does matter what kind of diet you're on. It really does, actually, Stephen. Wrong again.
Carnivore. If you are in a caloric surplus...
You can't be in a caloric surplus because you have no requirement for calories at all. The human body does not run on photons of light, Stephen. Still.
And if you do that long enough for a long enough period of time, you're going to get fat, you're going to develop health.
No, the only way to get fat is to consume more mass than your body excretes. Still. Nothing to do with photons of light. Still.
Issues, and you're not going to achieve your weight loss goal. So if you want to lose weight...
You mean fat? Because you can lose weight by surgically removing part of your body. I can suggest various parts of your body that you might like to remove Stephen for some weight loss.
You need to be in a calorie deficit. It doesn't
No, you don't. You can't be in a calorie deficit because you have no requirement for calories. Calories are still photons of light, Stephen, and nothing else.
matter what diet you were on. But those were just a few points that I wanted to bring up. These are just a few of the BS reasons why people...
Those are a couple of straw men that nobody would take seriously remotely who knows anything about this, Stephen.
Will say that calories don't matter. However...
Who says calories don't matter? We're still waiting for a name. Any name will do. Don't use mine because I've never said that. Not ever.
None of these are valid reasons. So
yeah, I agree. None of those get at the point. The point being you need to understand the basic physics and the basic chemistry and the basic metabolic processes underpinning this. Then you'll get why it is that you are so vastly, hugely arrogant, ignorant, and stupid, Stephen Danielle.
If anybody ever gives you one of these reasons, do not listen to that person because...
Right, and if anybody tells you that you can eat or excrete or burn calories, don't listen to that person either. Okay?
They don't understand how exactly the human body works.
Neither do you, Stephen, at all, clearly.
How exactly calories work.
Neither do you, Stephen, clearly.
Metabolism works.
Neither do you, Stephen, clearly.
So you really don't want to listen to that type of...
That's right, and we don't want people to listen to you either, Stephen. At all.
But anyway.
Geez, that's a flattering side posture view there, wasn't it, by the way?
That's it for today's video. If you guys have any questions with regard to anything that I discussed,
then ask someone who has any hope whatsoever of being able to answer your question sensibly with actual knowledge of the physics, chemistry, and metabolic processes underpinned here or underpinning this topic. Don't ask Stephen Danielle. Fucking idiot. Right, we're done here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I've cleared my chest and dealt with this fucking buffoon once again. See you next time when someone else will be wrong on interwebs, and it'll be Stephen again, probably, until I'm tired of it. See you then. Ciao for now.